How's it going? This is a totally new streaming setup for me. I'm using new software and some other stuff. So I'm just making sure everything's working right for a second. Thank you, Alex. I saw your chat on Periscope. I am getting it. Uh, so today my plan is today I'm going to be working on some game dev for my game Emoji Pop, which if you don't know, Emoji Pop is that's an exciting screen. Emoji Pop is a mobile puzzle game that I'm working on. And you can play it at playemojipop.com from your computer or from your mobile device. And so it's a bubble shooter, so you kind of aim and shoot colored emojis to make matches. And the coolest part of the game is that you can actually design your very own levels in the game, and then you can share them directly onto social media for the entire world to play. Before I talk for too long, I'm just going to make sure my voice is coming in through clear. Okay, sounds a little quiet maybe. Cool. Think that's okay. Okay, let me get back to this. So I'm streaming right now on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. So today my plan, I don't know, I kind of want a haircut, but I'm too lazy to go out and get a haircut. So my plan is I might as well use it to promote my social media, right? So for the next day or so, I'm going to be cutting my hair for every new Twitch and YouTube subscriber. So feel free to follow me while we're live. I'll keep that promo up there. So I was thinking, my plan today is I wanted to show you how you can design your own levels in Emoji Pop if you haven't, if you're new to my game. And on YouTube I released 3 level design tutorials a week, and so in this stream I thought it would be useful to kind of just do a practice session in front of everybody watching. So specifically it's going to be about designing levels, keeping in mind the 3-act structure and how we can use that to make better levels basically. So I think that's how I'm going to start the stream. And I'll probably get some lunch and keep the stream going. But then after that, let me check this out. After that, I want to do some game development. So this is the code, some of the code of my game. It's all commented out. And so I actually haven't worked too much. I just, besides some like little bug fixing, I haven't really worked on the game much since I kind of pushed it out on the internet more a few weeks ago, because I was working like all day every day and I just got really burnt out when I put it out. So I've kind of been taking a little bit of a break, but now I'm kind of excited to get back into it. And I thought I see these streamers who do game development live, and I thought that would be really fun and a motivating way to kind of keep developing the game. And also I think it'd be fun to kind of like have a lot of people have really strong feedback about the game. It'd be fun to kind of like go off of their impulses in the chat rooms or whatever and kind of explore some new territory and kind of like incorporate, because the game is kind of about level design in some way and kind of bringing users into the game design of the game and creating the content in the game. And so I can kind of extend that into the game's development as a whole. At least that's what I think I should be doing, especially as like a solo developer. I should be leveraging community as much as I can. So I think that's kind of one way I can do that. So that's going to be kind of fun, and it's going to be interesting to get back into coding, because it's like the way I code, you kind of just need to keep coding all the time, otherwise I'll kind of forget how everything's working, and so it's going to be an interesting experience, like getting back into it. And also the game is kind of, the core features are complete, but there's a lot of stuff that's a little buggy, just because like it's a little buggy because I think there's changes I'm going to be making to it anyway, certain features in the game. So it's going to be fun kind of like going through the creative process with these things. So yeah, and maybe I'll play like some games in between here and there or something like that. So I think I'm going to get started. I've got another screen, just making sure all this is working with all the chats open. I've also got the chats on the side as well as the Periscope chat. So I'm just going to be kind of streaming all afternoon and just see how this goes. I've been having a problem with my streaming software. The last one I was using like would randomly crash, and so kind of made it impossible for me to do longer streams. So I've been spending a lot of time getting everything working so that I can kind of like do this more often. And so this is gonna be kind of like a test. The worst case scenario for the stream is that it crashes every half hour, and then it's like not even worth it to be streaming all day if I'm just constantly having to reshare the stream everywhere every time. So, but it seems like it's running pretty smooth. It seems like my frame rate's smooth, so I'm just gonna keep going forward. Let's design. Let's start doing some level design. Gonna open my level editor. So again, you can do this as well at playemojipop.com, and so if you create an account, which is super easy, you just click the Twitter or Facebook button, and it logs you in. And so if you do that, you can create your own levels and save them. And so right here at the bottom of my Emoji Pop level editor, there's a bunch of emojis. These are all the emojis I've unlocked by playing the game. So every world that you beat, let me open the world map. Every world that you beat gives you a new emoji, which completely changes the gameplay of the game, and it really expands the gameplay possibilities. And so every like in most games, your reward for beating levels in the game is just more progress. But I wanted to give players something a little more tangible, something a little more beneficial maybe to their lives or their creative expression or whatever. So in addition to giving you progress in the game, I also allow you to use this progress as a tool in your level editor and to make crazy new levels. And the coolest thing about it is that you can share these levels directly to social media for the entire world to play. So whereas most creative games like Mario Maker and stuff like that, if I want to make Mario Maker levels and like share them with the world, the people that would play them would have to be people who owned that specific hardware, the Nintendo system. They'd have to have that Mario Maker game. They'd have to be kind of actively playing it. They'd have to have the Nintendo Online subscription, and they'd have to randomly by luck find your level in the game's built-in search algorithms, which most of these games don't have that great of like discoverability features. Or you could share the level on social media, but that would be in the form of like an arbitrary like code that players would have to copy down and re-enter into the game. It's just really like not the best. It's not very efficient. But my game, it's really special because you share the game by sharing a web link. So every single person from any web enabled device, a phone or a computer, is going to be able to play your level instantly without needing to download anything, without needing to install anything, without needing to create an account. They'll just play your level. So like your levels are going to be on the surface of the internet. They're not going to be hidden away in some game or some like buried in some hardware or something. So that's going to really increase virality. It's going to really increase your exposure. So my hope is I'm creating weekly YouTube videos and doing daily streams. And my hope is to train people who are interested in level design in really practical level design skills, so that like by the end, if you watch a lot of videos and you make a lot of levels and I give you feedback on them and we kind of collaborate as a community, my hope is that you should be able to get an actual job doing this kind of stuff in the industry if you wanted to, or on your own. So like that's kind of one way I'm combating the kind of like smear against these kinds of mobile puzzle games. And not saying that that smear is unjustified or anything, but they kind of get written off as like evil, manipulative games. And so I'm trying to combat that in many ways on every different level. And one way of doing that is by like, for example, possibly even economically empowering people, or through social media I can boost their exposure by like, so players of this game can share their levels, and if they're really crazy levels, depending on how like crazy the tools are in the game, then they can even gain like a following on social media. They can kind of become a published, like known game designer, at least within the community, even despite not knowing how to code or anything like that. So that's another way that my game is an awesome learning tool, is that you can kind of the way the gameplay is set up and the way the obstacles are, you can kind of create different games within different levels. So to me, it's like a great entrance into the world of game design, because without like usually the barrier is needing to code or something like that. Like that was always the barrier for me. So that's why all through college I spent most of my time like learning code and stuff like that. But with this game, you can kind of get really deep into game design. You can go really deep, way more than if you're like programming all the time. And you can be through any age range. So I use this game to kind of teach kids the art of like game design in some ways, or like problem solving. So that's like, I think that's kind of like in the bubble shooter format, and being on mobile and being on the internet. I think it just gives me the most exposure. Like that's kind of what my game is designed around, just like making it the most like potential like vacuum of a game for players. But yeah. Every time I drink water on camera, I just do my best not to look like Mark Zuckerberg. So let's start designing a level. So just to show you how the basic way of how you design a level. So when you go to playemojipop.com, it'll ask you to log in. You can even do it with an email if you want. It'll send you the login link, and you won't need to remember a password even. But then when you finally get into the game, you'll be presented with this game, except it should show you some bubbles, a puzzle to actually do something with. So let me do that. That'll be our first little task, so I know what's going on here. So we're actually going to do a little game development already. Just need to open up my database. I'm going to switch to the coding console. And I'm checking the chats all the time, so feel free to leave a question or anything you want. So yeah, this is the, what is this? This is the main container layer. I'm just going to talk to you while I'm getting the Firebase. So I'm using the Firebase database. But you'll see in the coding on my editor, in the main container layer. So this is like the core like UI element of the game. It's like the frame in which everything gets displayed and gets defined in. So the different game screens and etc. That's kind of it's like set up to flip between them. I need to switch accounts. I think I'm about to put my database on the screen. I just want to make sure there's no personal information. It's something I get really paranoid about because I've seen people do that. I had a teacher once show some inappropriate pictures on the first day of a class in college, and it's kind of hard to gain respect after that. Feel free to let me know if there's any improvements I could be making to the chat. I'm totally new to this still. Cool, so I think there's no personal information here. It's just hard because if anyone gets any like app ID, I know they can like totally screw you. Okay, so this is my database. So it's called Emoji Pop by name, I guess. I'm just checking to make sure everything's good. Yeah. So it has a few different things in it. It has a levels. I'm not really trained in database, but so I guess I've never really had to explain it to anybody. It has a levels container where I keep all the levels in the game, basically. It has a state where I keep like core things about the game, like maybe what events are running or stuff like that, or how many worlds are in the game at a point, so I can always, let me show you. So one variable within state is worlds. So there's 8 right now, so if I were to change it to 9, that all the people who are at the end of level 8 who are waiting for the next world, once I change it to 9, when they load the game, it'll say, oh, there's a new world available, and they'll continue playing. So it's all like the just constants in the game, and actually probably a lot of garbage in between. Users is where I keep all the user data, all like how far they are in the game, what's their current world state, stuff like that. I keep their user levels in another place. And worlds, these are the worlds in the game. So the game is structured. I forgot. So before I show you the game, I guess I need to do this database thing. So I'm gonna go to my account. This is my like database entry for my user, and I'm going to. So the problem is I'm at world index 20. I did that because I wanted to have all the unlocked emojis in the game. I'm releasing one new emoji world per week on Monday. And so I need to change my world index. That tells me what world I'm on in the game. I need to change it to, let's do world 0. So 0 is the first world. That's coding binary. The first number is always 0. And let's go to my world. This is where my world data is. I'm going to delete the bubbles. And so by deleting the bubbles, my program knows once I load the game, it'll see that I have no bubbles, and it'll load that world that I just inputted in the world index. I made it work like this because I figured if a player ever gets stuck or something, or there's some problem, I can just delete their bubbles and the game will just fix itself. It's like useful for other reasons too, like reasons I can't even remember right now. So yeah, let's see if it works. Let's go back to the game. I'm just gonna open it so I can reload it. Refresh. And so this is the live game right now at playemojipop.com. Cool. So this is the first world and it loaded the bubbles. Let's go back to the code. So now look, I deleted the bubbles, and when the game loaded, it added new bubbles, and they're defined in these numbers. These numbers are the keys, and they say the row and column. So when I load it, I know where that bubble is. And so this is useful because I've defined the I'll just open one. So this is a bubble, row 11, column 8, and it has that doubly defined for some reason. And type 5, so that's a certain type of bubble. So I know there's that kind of bubble at row 11, column 8. And so the reason I made the keys like this is because often I need to delete, like if you make a match, I need to delete like 2 bubbles from your world database. I don't want to have to dig through every bubble to find the 2 bubbles each time if they were numbered 0 through 256 or whatever. So I get around that by saving them by using their row and column of the definition. So instead of getting the list of bubbles, what I can do is I can just go to that one element in the database. Oh, go to 11.8 because that's where the bubble should be, and I know to change this to null, and that's how I delete bubbles. And so the reason I have to do all this, and the reason why this is different than other bubble shooters on the market, is because my game, let me open the game, because my game is not structured like using the Sega map model like most other mobile puzzle games. So what it is instead of doing level by level by level, you're like basically facing a continuous treadmill of bubble shooter gameplay. So this world right now I have 83 moves just because I made myself have a lot of moves, but let's say I had 5 moves. I would play, actually let's just do that. I'm gonna go to my I'm in my, oops, it's a lot of scrolling. I'm gonna close the bubbles. So what was I doing? I am changing my world moves. So that is in the world moves. So it says I have 83. I'm gonna change it to 5 just to show you what happens when I run out of moves in the game. Still getting used to this new setup. I think I need to lock this taskbar. Nice. Okay, so let me refresh. And I'll start with 5 moves. Right now I'm not always checking to see if things changed. Matt and PS2, sup? Welcome back. So I'm doing something really different today. I'm glad you're checking in. Let me know if I would love to know if you have any feedback about the stream in terms of the quality. Like, I'm using Streamlabs OBS now. I've like set up everything and checked the microphone and everything. I think everything's running a lot smoother. Got the chats open, so feel free to give me any feedback on that. So what I'm doing today is I'm doing game development in one half, and I'm also doing level design and game design on the other half. And my plan is just to stream my game development as much as I can. I noticed that it was blurry right away, but it's smooth. It's 480p. Cool, good to know. Thank you so much for that feedback. I'm glad at least it's not just like skipping frames as much. Yeah, so I just changed my world moves. So I should have 5 world moves in my account now. And so I want to show everyone what, and I'm streaming across like 4 different platforms right now. I want to show everyone what happens when I run out of moves. So five. So this is how you play the game. You drag your finger in this gray box, and you let go to fire, and you're trying to make colored matches. But there's also these giant soap bubbles, which I had someone tell me actually that they didn't know that they could pop them, so that's something I should think about. But you can also pop these giant clusters of soap by popping them. So I'm about to run out of moves. You can also swap. So this is an important element of strategy in the game. You have both a yellow and a blue in this situation, and so you should know, oh, I should swap to yellow, and that's a better move because blue, there's no blue matches on the board. So now I've run out of moves. So it says I get a new move in 60 minutes. It should be counting down, but I guess it's not doing that right now. And so it's telling me there's these little side event modes that I can play to earn extra moves. And so I could do those, but I'm not going to right now. There's also, oh, it's telling me, oh, you have a task that you completed, and if I complete this task, then I open this gift, and I get some goodies and stuff. So basically, if I do all these options and I still don't have any moves, I have to give the game some time. So it's 1 hour per move. So I have to wait maybe a few hours or 5 hours to let the game reload the moves. So sometimes, yeah, they don't really look like soap bubbles. Is that an actual emoji too? No, actually, so soap is one. It's one of the few that isn't based on an emoji. Um, yeah, originally I didn't have them all connected like that, but they just looked like totally separate. But now that it's a cluster, it looks like it's solid. So that's something we could even work on maybe today later on. I think that would be a good option because that's feedback that I've definitely gotten. Um, Maybe making it more like clear because it's not like it doesn't look like it's opaque at all. I feel like I thought it was. Maybe the way I'm loading it in is doesn't make it opaque or transparent. So the idea that sometimes I'm not letting you play the game, that's kind of seen as a manipulative practice. But I think I combat that a bit by allowing you to play levels that players have created. It's not like I'm cutting you out from playing the game at all. Like the craziest levels, the coolest trending levels, you can still play all those. So it's not like you can't play. And also, I'm giving you this awesome beneficial activity of designing your own levels and sharing them and this community to engage with. So like, just because like the reason why I'm limiting the moves is because I'm trying to make it like an engaging experience. You know, sometimes what's in line with manipulative is also in line with it being a good mobile game. And so this is, I think I do need to cut off moves because otherwise players can just barge to the end and it's not like a live experience, like, which is what I want it to be. I want players to have time to like, it's all focused on the level design for me, you know. So if they just barge through all the like gameplay, like they wouldn't have time to like design levels and practice using the fundamentals before they get to the more complicated things. So I think it's just like makes for a coherent experience. Like that's based on gut. That's something that could change, you know, in my mind over time. But that's just kind of how I feel right now. Um, so yeah. So let me add a few more moves. I'm just gonna play the first world of this game. I'm gonna add 5 more moves, and I'm gonna refresh the game. I'm planning on streaming through till 5 o'clock today, California time. I think I'm gonna really like this. Like, I was getting burnt out. I was coding all day, and I was also doing it in the outside in the backyard because I was just like, I need to like put myself in a new place and kind of isolate myself. And like I was going crazy, and it was 100 degrees outside every day, and I had this fan on me and everything, and I was coding outside every day, and it was kind of a lot. But like I feel like having like just talking through the game development and maybe building like an audience of some sort, I think that could make it like a little easier or whatever. Seems like it'll be fun. Paul on YouTube says, maybe just me, but the UI looks a bit overloaded or crowded. So I think that's really good feedback. Let me show you one thing. I think this will make it even worse. So I also get feedback at the bottom. I want to show the whole UI. So I also get feedback that the bottom UI is a little off as well. Mattman says avoiding burnout is hard sometimes. Best of luck. Yeah, thanks for the connection there. Like, it's good to know other people go through that because it can be really freaking hard. Uh, yeah, the UI looking overloaded or crowded. That makes sense. I think you're referring to like these little badges on the screen. I could totally see that. Yeah, it's like I need to have like I kind of need to have them there, but maybe I could think of alternate solutions. I've heard the UI in general. I've gotten so much criticism about the UI in general. It's probably one of the biggest comments I've gotten. So like, I think that's something we could work on today. Like one thing I was thinking of is I could just like try some alternate solutions. I agree. Matt Mann says I agree with UI overloaded and crowded. Ready for V2 of UI winky face. Cool. Yeah, I'm awesome. It seems like there's a strong consensus among everyone about that. I think that'd be fun to work on today. Like I was thinking I could like make some alternate V2s, like you're saying, and then kind of put them out there and see what people think. Since like people have a really strong reaction to that. Like I was surprised in general people had such a strong reaction to the art, and I like wasn't even really thinking about the art too much. I'm just kind of starting to put the game out there, but that it's good to see that people like look at stuff like that, and like the UI is like the most functional part of that, you know. So that totally makes sense. That's something that comes to players' minds at first. That totally makes sense. Yeah, overcrowded. Let me just like think through that. Like maybe it would be better if I like eliminated two of these little badges or something. Like the thing is like let me look at the UI at some of these other games that have badges because let me see if I can pull one up because I don't know. I think I need these events. Oops. I think I need these events like and I need ways to indicate to the player that they're like live. But so maybe if there's a way I could like do with fewer events, maybe to help the UI, like maybe if there's a way I could do that, maybe there would be one button that opens up all the events. Maybe that could be a better solution. Like that just kind of came to mind. Let me see how Toon Blast does it. They have like I think that they were like my biggest inspiration for like at least how I structured the UI of the game in a way. I'm like I want to see if I could play it online. I think you can probably play it on Facebook, right? Facebook play. Oh, maybe you can't. Yeah, thanks for all the feedback though, Paul and Matt. Man, like it's good to have other voices commenting on the stuff. Play. Cool, I can. Awesome. Oh no, it's just linked to the App Store. Okay, let me just pull it up on YouTube. Yeah, and if you're just checking in, I'm just doing game development all day, and I'm gonna be designing levels. Once I get tired of developing game stuff. Let's see. Just need to see like the Toon Blast, like the main screen. Playing your game now. Expected emoji to bounce off top before I. Interesting. Like that's interesting because that's something I could do. I would have to like that seems kind of like a fun idea. Like interest that just kind of sparked some stuff in my head. Yeah, that totally makes sense because I feel like people either expect it to go through the wall because there's nothing there, or I guess the top UI bar is there, so it makes sense that you'd expect it to bounce off like it looks like a wall. Because yeah, and the side walls bounce off, so yeah, why wouldn't the top? That's an excellent it's an excellent feedback. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of this stuff, sometimes I have a hard time giving my first impression on feedback like that because I'm like, wow, that's like it totally changes my perspective on some things, and like it just takes my mind to like kind of calibrate to that. All right. So yeah, so here's why mine's crowded. So here, oh, let me go to the other screen. Whoops. So if you look at the Toon Blast like home screen, this is the main screen. So let me put my game next to it as well. All right. So let's freaking do this. Paul says, definitely having a button for events which will open up a pop up or even a menu with all events would be great. Awesome. And you could have an exclamation mark or something similar or on it when there's news or new events to notify the user. That's okay, cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that feedback. I was wondering if that would be a good idea. So it's awesome to hear you say that, Paul. Uh, cool. That's good feedback. Um, I wanted to examine. Mattman says maybe you need a home screen like them instead of having all you buy in game. Okay, cool. So that's exactly what I was gonna say. Uh, so the reason, yeah, so the reason, obvious reason, like you're pointing out, Mattman, is why it's overcrowded is because I have this. And so like the event one button would be good, and I think I might do that because I feel like I might need the gameplay to be in the game. So like because it's not like this is like a level where you play it and then if you lose it you have to keep replaying it. Like I have the opportunity to like the second you log into the game, the second you open up the game, you are in the game itself. Like I think like by putting less resistance between the player and the game, like the gameplay itself, I think that makes for like I don't know a unique character to the game, like a more immediate experience. Which I don't know. I think in player psychology, the quicker you can get to the game, I think the more people would do it. Even though that's like kind of thinking at things probably a little too specifically, but also by making you immediately in the game, I'm letting the player know this is a live experience. So the big thing that I have to think a lot about in my design of the game is that I have to communicate how the game is structured because it's completely different than other match threes and bubble shooters. The way it's designed is you're continuously in this level. The level is like the whole game. It's like hundreds of rows long and like so that there's checkpoints at each world, but you're basically in the game at all times. It's like a live, constant experience. And so to like have you hit a button to check into that, I think that makes it seem like it's like an aside thing where I want the fact that you're constantly in this like constant experience of playing this like giant like world of gameplay. I think I want that to like be like immediate because it conveys to the players, oh, this is a live thing. This isn't like a side level or something. Like it like more highlights that like relationship that the players should have with that level. I might be thinking of things a little esoterically, or if that's even the right word for that. But that's why I at least started with that because that was my impulse. I could always change that. Like it could be cool having the main screen be like, oh, here's a couple levels that are trending right now. Like since I have a lot more room, here's the event that's running now. Here's where you are in the gameplay. I think Legend of Soulguard I think did that. Mattman says maybe you need a home screen like them. Oh yeah, I already read that one. Yeah, yeah. So that is another awesome. That's an awesome solution. Like I need to think about how important to me is that. I'm curious what you guys think, or if what I'm talking about even makes sense. Maybe I need to think more. Maybe I need to dedicate more time to thinking about why I'm doing that. But that's kind of like my impulse. Legend of Soulguard UI. I don't know if we're gonna be able to see all the screens, but I remember this game Legend of Soulguard, which is actually made by King. Like, yeah, they have. So this is the screen on the right. So on the right screen, you can see they have a big button that says campaign, and so this is the main game that you're constantly in. But like you're saying, Mattman, they have like a main UI that even though that's the main campaign that they want the players to always be thinking about, like it's presented as an option along with the other stuff in the game, like the community gameplay and the events. So they took that route. Like, not that I should do what they do just because they did it, but like that's like a seeing it work like in that context, it makes like a convincing argument for maybe that's the direction I should be going. I'm not going to be making any like big changes today for that because I want to think about it, because I don't want to like something that I've done in the past is like I make up some decision in my head about a game a certain way and I do it and then I totally change my mind. So and I keep doing that and then I end up wasting a lot of time doing stuff that I actually should have done differently or whatever. So like um but yeah, maybe I should just like be like looking at other games like this, see how they do it. I and like maybe just like prototyping some of them or whatever. It could be interesting. I'm trying to imagine what it would look like here. I guess it would be like I don't know. I could even if I did that I could get rid of the bottom bar maybe even. I and that would allow me to highlight cuz right now these other features they seem like non-essential, you know, like a lot of players might not like touch them or whatever, but if I had a main screen that was like pick up pick off from where you went start like the biggest one would be the gameplay, like pick off from where you left off or whatever, and then another one could be like level editor, and like another one could be like here's what's trending, like I don't know, it could be like cool to do that. And I think that kind of like what that's communicating more that is that like maybe if I do end up releasing this on the App Store, I could do this like main gameplay thing, but maybe I'm thinking now like Mattman's suggestion of having it, as well as including Paul's suggestion, but I think Mattman's suggestion of having it like a home screen, like I think that could like better like communicate that this is like a community-based game, that there's lots of facets to this game, and it puts the level editor on par with like the main gameplay, on par with the community features and the events. So I think I'm surprised. I would never thought that I would be convinced away from what I'm doing now, but I think I kind of am. So yeah, maybe I'll spend some time like the next couple days, like kind of like sketching out some. I could just do it now. The only thing is like, so also in case you're just coming in, like I haven't coded in like a few weeks because I had to take a break, and so some things I'm a little rusty on. I just need to like I'm doing the stream also now because I need to like get back into the flow of coding and stuff, and so I don't want to make any big change like to the way the whole thing is structured at the top, because then like maybe I mess something up, you know. And so maybe like I'll do some tasks today, and maybe like this weekend I can stream like my UI design overhaul and stuff. I think that could be a good idea. Maybe for like when you first get into the game, it shows the world, but then once you log back into the game after that, it would start you at the home screen or whatever. Yeah, that's interesting. This is an interesting design space to be thinking about. I'm starting to get a little hungry, but maybe I'll like design a level and then I'll eat some pizza and I'll keep the stream running. Yeah, so let's go back to the editor. So my plan now is so I'm gonna first change my world index in my database to be higher, so I have the more advanced emojis. Oops. I'll make it 20 again. So my plan was to do on my plan right now is Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I upload videos to YouTube that are level design tutorial sessions, level design tutorials and stuff. And I have 3 for next week as well, but I'm gonna record them over the weekend. So I wanted to like do one like live and just kind of do it. Like it'd be cool. Like on my streams, I could do like the dry runs for the videos. Like so, the first one I had in mind was thinking about the 3-act structure in terms of level design and making levels that kind of model that. And it's something like 3-act structure. Like in the industry, I used to make games like this, and like 3-act structure often in these level design for level designers is kind of seen as like something like a lens through which you have to kind of look at these levels, because when you play them and when you watch players play them, it's evident that like the 3-act structure is like essential to any kind of communication between like whether it's a story or a movie or a game or a level, like it's something that's just evident. Um, and so most levels they follow this in the sense that like there's an introduction, and in some sense that like shows them what they're going to be doing throughout the level, and this is of course can be kind of modded and like changed. Um, but then there's also like a middle that takes us to the top, and this end is usually where things like are at their most difficult or climatic. And of course when we design levels, that's we kind of just naturally do that without thinking like, oh, 3-act structure, like we just want the end to be like the most badass or whatever. But like that ends up taking the shape of this 3-act structure. And players, from the player perspective, having it start easy gives them confidence in the level, and in the middle they start to train the player's skill in whatever the level's asking them to do. And then the end is like the big conflict where players realize whether they've won or lost, and that end should be designed in such a way so that it feels like the end, like so players know that they're at the end, and they like they make sure they're really paying attention for their last moves or whatever. um, and so having the end be like a little more difficult, once players win they'll feel like really accomplished. So that's why another reason why it's good to have the end be a little like have an effective ending that's obviously considered an end to this 3-act structure. And then also like just this pacing allows players to like want to replay the game, because they giving them by structuring the get level like this, they get confident in the game and their ability to play it, especially particularly the level. And so this 3-act structure, like they're like, oh, I want to play it again because I know I can nail the beginning, and like the middle I'm like I've learned these things, and so it's just the end. So I don't know, it's hard for me to describe, but like designing levels with this kind of pacing, it makes the level like it makes it a positive experience for the players, what I'm trying to say. So it's something to pay attention to, or even just to think about so that you can kind of subvert that in your own interesting ways. Like sometimes we have levels that like really like disrupt the level like halfway through it. Like maybe it's like two kind of different levels in one, and it's a way different gameplay experience. Like we can still think of the process of playing them through the 3-act structure, of course, but like it's a fun way to play with like level design on like a more mastery level. So let's do this. So I'm gonna make a 3-act structure level. So there's gonna be a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so it's up to me how obvious those segments of the level are gonna be. One thing I could do is have an end that like ends in a soap drop. So these soaps, you hit them and it should be clear, even though it's not right now, but it should be clear that they pop as a cluster. And so once you hit the top, that's the end. So this whole section leading to the top is going to be the end. And then I could have another row here. I'm holding the mouse weird. I can click this pencil to open up the eraser. So we're going to have another soap drop here. And so the puzzle leading up to this is like the middle. And so it's kind of long. And then I could have like a beginning here that's just a few rows just to show players like what it's like. So like this would be the beginning, and I would draw up matches, and then everything up here would be the middle. So like the beginning's like, okay, this is how it works. This is the strategy. You have to like kind of manage your colors in order to hit this soap drop. And then the middle is like, okay, so now it's getting more difficult because there's a lot more colors in a row. So it's harder to like. There's going to be more times where the player ends up getting stuck or whatever it is. And then at the end, it's like, oh, this is a big one, and it all ends in one soap drop. So this is kind of like the climax that like tests the user's skill that they've been practicing throughout the level. So that's kind of one obvious way to make a 3-act structure level. Like a lot of levels I see are like a lot of good levels are kind of set up like this, but a lot of them are maybe a little less obvious with it, or yeah, a little less obvious with how strict the different sections are. So let me erase the soap. So instead of soaps, for example, we could have rockets. So we could have like 2 rockets here, and so if you hit one of these rockets, it clears the row and it scrolls the screen up. So that could be like the kind of introduction, but I could have like kind of just randomly strewn rockets. So if a player gets up here after the beginning, they could go for each rocket, but often it's probably better just to go for a high up rocket to kind of save moves. The milestones aren't as clear, like beginning, middle, end. multiple ones kind of make up the middle, and so it kind of bleeds into the end, you know. So like it doesn't have to be so strict. It's kind of just like a feeling thing, distinguishing the different parts of the level, the beginning, middle, end. I think this is gonna be helpful for me to run through this once before, because I'm kind of just doing it with no plan, so it's kind of useful for me to like do a dry run of this, I think. And so what else could we do? Let me use an emoji that I haven't really tested very much. I know that sounds unwise, but I think that would be fun. So I'm gonna use the spider web emoji. So the way the spider web emoji works is you have this. Oh, Paul was talking to me on Facebook. I thought he was on YouTube. I just saw that. I also got Periscope open. I got all the chat rooms open. I can switch to it on here. If you are interested in designing levels, make sure you go to playemojipop.com, and then you can submit them in the chat because it gives you a web link, and then I can play them. So right now in my level editor, I'm filling up the level with spider webs. So the spider web emoji works like this. I'll show you. So I'll add some colors to the top row. I'll do like creepy colors: red, yellow, green, purple. And we'll test it out. And so the way spider webs work is this is the first emoji that obstacles can actually pass through. So you see how that purple emoji cleared everything just by going through it. So the spider webs can kind of be used to hold up structure. So while they're not like interesting to interact with like one-on-one like some of these other emojis, they don't like do something crazy when you hit them, for example. But they allow you to make levels in a whole other mindset, because instead of it being about making certain matches, often just shooting emojis at a certain trajectory in order to clear webs that like drop a bunch of stuff, suddenly that becomes a viable possibility. It's not all about making matches. And also you can shoot through stuff and also be making matches at the same time. So for example, like, I know this is like a real extreme example, but I could do this where, oh, this is the best way that I clear as many spider webs as possible, and maybe I could have even ended it on that red match. That would have been crazy. So like there's all these like intricate, unique gameplay like situations that come up that I can make crazy puzzles with, and you can too, by doing it in the level editor. So I'm gonna make a level like that. I wouldn't do this on the YouTube video because I'm assuming everyone there is at the beginning of the game and it's kind of like a noob. Like it could be like a kid like first getting into level design or whatever it is. So I'm trying to use simple emojis as much as possible and introduce them slowly, but on the streams I can do whatever I want. So for example, usually levels end either with some kind of drop at the top row or with certain colors they have to match. But instead of that, I'm going to just have the top rows be... I'm going to actually make it really long. I'm going to have a lot of webs at the top here. And again, I think there's some bugs with this, so I might have to like actually... This all might be a waste, but maybe it's not. I'm not sure if there's a game-breaking bug in it or not. So I'll make the top, the top 5 or 6 will be spider webs. So I want players kind of shooting on top to like clear the little matches. So maybe I can fill it up with like little matches everywhere. I'll make them kind of random instead of being like really ordered, and this could make for some interesting like shot strategies in order to like cull certain things or whatever. Something I really thought would be cool is like I've been starting to play Fall Guys, and I see a lot of things in the game's design that I think are really cool that I don't even see other people talking about really. And so I thought it'd be cool, like, oh, like for some level design streams for like a week or so, I could like try to make like a live action like multiplayer bubble shooter race or something like that, or something like a little less even taxing, maybe, I don't know. And then I could be doing that, and then when I get bored, I could do like one run of Fall Guys, and it could be live on the screen, and I could be making my own version of it within my own game, you know, like I don't know. That's just something I thought would be cool. Uh, the game's really fun. So I'm gonna have like kind of little like segments where there's nothing there. So I'm kind of not thinking about 3x structure right now. I'm gonna show you how it just kind of makes itself like a factor once I start analyzing the design kind of. I think even subliminally I might be even setting up the level in such a way that it, so like basically I'm thinking now, okay, the 3x structure will be like these like clear points will be the release points that will kind of come between the different sections of the level, like whether it's intro to middle or end. Like I think that'll naturally just kind of create the different like zones of the level. Checking chats, we are good. Excited to stream for more than an hour because I couldn't rely on my last software. I think it's gonna be really fun to just do this. I'm just gonna do this all the time. I think I'm thinking I'm gonna stream Tuesday through Friday, and I don't know. I was thinking about streaming tomorrow too. I'm not sure yet. Actually, I don't know. The weekends I think I should have off because I want to make a bunch of videos and stuff. I'm doing 3 level design tutorials per week on YouTube. And actually you can see the YouTube and Twitch subscription links on the screen. It's hard to like keep track of what I'm talking about when I'm doing this. I'll just keep going with the flow, I guess. So that's kind of like the top section. This will be like the middle. One thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep the levels. I'm trying to keep the colors evenly distributed throughout the level. So, for example, I want like a red sort of towards the right hand side because there's one on the left hand side, but not on the bottom yet, and not on the right hand side. Maybe a purple over here. Yellow. So I'm gonna do a beginning to this level. Sometimes it's funny, introductions and conclusions. That's like another whole lesson in itself. Introductions sometimes can be the most difficult to design perfectly, and sometimes it's the tops. It's usually one is easy and the other is hard. And so sometimes I start with the top and that just makes sense, and then I have to come up with a good introduction, introduce the concept. Or other times I start off with the introduction because I'm like, oh, this is a fun little mechanic to use in a level. Then I have to like design a whole level out of that, like including the conclusion. So that's just, I wanted to give that insight. Like when you make these levels, like sometimes you'll feel like motivated to start with the top. Sometimes it'll be the bottom. Like I don't know, it's just an interesting thing that I've noticed. 1 second. I'm gonna make sure everything's going good with the stream real fast. Yeah, so I had a bunch of notifications in some platforms, so I want to make sure doing good. Yeah, seems like it. Yeah, so also my idea was oh, hold on. My idea was to cut my hair for every new follower I get on Twitch or YouTube. But I'm not gonna do it unless someone tells me to or something, you know. But that could be a possibility. Like I wanted to get a haircut, and I'm like, oh, I might as well just say I'll do that for the stream or whatever. It thought it'd be fun, like to have like half my head cut while I'm like trying to get like a certain number of followers or whatever. I just hit a 100 YouTube subscribers today, so that's another reason why I thought it'd be fun to do it. I'll probably do it a little later. I'll probably look really stupid for a while because I think it'll take me a while to get enough followers to get a full haircut, but that'll make it more fun anyway. Something to think about when making levels is don't spend too much time making your initial level. Like it's seriously better to just spend like 5 minutes and make your little puzzle just to test it out. Your minimum viable product, they call it. So I'm gonna save this first actually, and then we'll test it. This is the level browser, so I have 311 levels in my inventory or whatever. So this is kind of the middle. I don't have an intro yet, but let's just see how it plays. Red, purple. So like I could make these green matches. They're probably kind of wastes. I could. So this is what the spider webs are cool at. I could shoot it through this channel of spider webs, and if I nail it, I could make the green match. I could probably clear everything on the right hand side instead of like doing this little match, you know. So there's a lot of risk reward choices, which I think are really interesting. Oh, see, but now I can do it. And so, okay, here's the bug. Uh, so when you play emoji pop, you can't shoot anything past the top. So if it sees you're shooting way off the top of the screen, it's not going to let you shoot that far because for many reasons that are hard to describe like right now. Just because I think for many reasons why I don't think players should be able to, because I don't know. Anyway, that's like a whole debate in itself. But spider webs, since players are trying to shoot through channels, it wouldn't make sense to prevent them from being able to shoot off screen. So I do allow them to shoot off screen. So the one visual bug is that it shows a red X there, but I think I can shoot anyway. Okay, so let's see how high that yellow went. Because I think originally the way it was working when I first implemented it is it stopped after like the row afterwards, and if it wasn't being held up by anything, it would fall, but if it was still in the spider webs, it would be stuck. So that was kind of like my solution, but I don't think it's working like that anymore. We'll see once we cut all this down. Oh wow, so see, it seriously just dug through everything and didn't collide with anything. So that's a major bug that I need to probably write down. So you're able to shoot and it just goes on forever until it hits the top. And so imagine if you're in a really long level, like you can't just be waiting for it to just go up and then tearing through everything. Like, so that's something that should be fixed, but I don't think that that emoji comes out for a while, so that's why there's these little bugs. Yeah, so I'm on World 8. On Monday, I'm releasing World 9. So also, I'll stream probably... Something I'll probably stream today that I just realized is I need to make the World 9 levels, some of them. So that'll be a really fun thing to do so that we're ready to go on Monday. I have the world design, I believe, but just not the little levels that go in them. If anyone wants to play the game, and actually probably... There's... Never mind. I was gonna actually, yeah, no, I was gonna say if anyone wants to make levels to go in the game, like I'm always open to them doing that. If like, but like obviously I have to like work with you really closely to get them to the levels so they can go in the game themselves. Otherwise, I can always just feature whatever levels people make in the community tab, which is down here. So that's another reason to be designing levels. Oh, what was I doing? Cool. Yeah, so I'm not gonna do this too much more and dig into the beginning, middle, end because it's hard to play it when that bug's in there. This is a level I made for the last video. Let me play it. So I like this as a beginning because I'm presented with an obvious target. These objectives down here are the bombs to hit. And once I hit them, they'll scroll the screen down. I could try to go around them, but this is basically the beginning, either way you play it. I also like this because you feel the need to kind of like do bounce shots to the way these matches are lined out. It makes me want to like do a bounce shot and hit them. It'd be easier to make progress that way. But because there's two columns, I can't do any bounce shots. So I kind of have to chip away at the sides. And once I finally do hit this bomb, it feels amazing because now I have access to all of this and I can like save a bunch of moves. So this is kind of like the beginning. Sometimes it's where they just hit the bomb though. And so now I'm kind of in the middle. I've gained progress. I'm invested. I put in the work and I got progress. So I'm invested. And now I'm introduced to the concept. That was the introduction. So now I'm in the middle, and the middle is defined by me like using what I've learned and like to kind of deal with what the game's giving me. So I know to be going for these bombs, and I know that afterwards that I can make these bounce shots that... Oh, this is a really tight shot. So I like that it's like too tight, so I kind of have to make a match. I could risk it, or I can make a match to make it an easier shot. And so now I know from experience, okay, now I can go up the other side. I'm looking for a blue, but I don't get that lucky. Still no blue. So now I have access to the top. So the way the screen is kind of like no longer cutting off the bubbles at the top, I can kind of gather that I'm at the top. So I can make up these high matches, or I could go for the bottom ones. So there's a lot of choice still. Where's the blue? Okay, I was making sure. I was afraid I didn't get any blues in the level. So I can blow up the right side. Now I'm gonna blow up the left side. Boom, 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 boom. I'm gonna do it off the wall now that I've cleared the right side. I just need to get to this bomb. I have 7 moves left. Maybe this is a dumb question from a non-bubble shooter gamer. Why do you want that bottom box? Why not let the player's finger go anywhere? That is an amazing question. I love answering that question, because it totally makes sense, and that mindset is totally what the other bubble shooter designers believe. So I'm gonna give you this mind-blowing information right now. That's an awesome question, though. Thank you for asking, Matt, man. So the reason why I have this, let me open up a level. So the reason why I have this box, Mattman's asking, why do I have this gray aim box? Because like you said, I could just aim anywhere, right? So that's the way most bubble shooters are actually designed. I'm opening up Bubble Witch right now. I have the theme song that I play at the beginning in my head for some reason. I forgot Bubble Witch is so slow to load on Facebook. Never mind. We're going to Panda Pop. Panda Pop's a better example of the control scheme, like you're saying anyway. Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, I love talking especially about the difference between my game and the other bubble shooters. It's just interesting to contrast them. So just to contextualize that question, here's one of the mainstream bubble shooters. Snoopy pops up here. That's a game that I worked on. So we're level 26. So this is a snake level. So I can aim by pointing anywhere on the screen. So if I was playing this on my phone, I would have to press down, and then I can move my phone anywhere. That's usually how these games work. Here's the problem, though. And I think this game, I think they've updated certain things to kind of change this problem. But imagine there's no aim line. So imagine that you've never seen a bubble shooter at all before. You don't even know what that is. You're just presented with this. What do you think that you're going to be motivated to touch? So what I think people are motivated to be touched is probably the ball down here. So kind of like an Angry Birds game. Like Angry Birds and those kinds of games have kind of taught players to play these shooting games by hitting the thing that you're shooting, by pressing it down and shooting it back like a slingshot. And so there's a little space down here, so I can see how players kind of think that. So I believe my experience in the industry has kind of informed my opinion on this, is that many players they don't realize. So these companies expect players to be touching here, so where there's nothing on the screen in order to fire, or maybe the puzzle. But still, most players, a good number of players, a surprising number of players, think to drag this back. And if you do that, nothing happens, and then players get all messed up. To them, to some segment of the population, which I don't understand too much, they think that it's weird to them to hold down to aim. They aim by tapping. So holding down makes sense to them when they drag something back, but if they're asked to touch on the screen, they always forget that they can hold down their finger. I've seen many players that I know and that I've seen elsewhere, just my family members especially, they forget that they can hold down to aim, even though that's most gamers realize that and understand that, but most new gamers like that aren't game literate, they tap, and then that makes it impossible for them to succeed because they have no ability to aim really. Um, so also another reason why this gray box is like that, which I think is important. Let me open it again. So like I want players to aim in this section. So Panda Pop, for example, it's like they're expecting players to aim in that white space. There's the puzzle above, and then there's the panda with the bubble down below, and then there's just white space. And so the only place where there's nothing, the only place on the screen where there's nothing, that's where players are expected to press to shoot. Like, there's no way they're gonna be like so many of them. I guarantee it. Shoot by hitting this bottom shooter right here. They like drag it back or whatever. So by having an aim box, players are constantly like told you aim by holding down this box and shooting. So I can actually move my mouse anywhere or my finger anywhere once I've started the aim box, and then I can move it anywhere. So it's like the same, but I have to start with the aim box. So that kind of trains players to know that's how you shoot. But also, I could have sided with the Panda Pop approach or the Bubble Witch approach if it wasn't for this. Um, the My game succeeds, I think, based on how cool I make the emoji obstacles and the game features in the game. So I want to have crazy emojis. Right now, like I'm making ones that move and like transform and like open up other things and stuff like that. But eventually, I want like players to be able to make like any kind of game almost, like as many as I can allow. And so part of that's going to be I want players to be able to interact with emojis on the screen. So for example, this snail level. Imagine I have a lantern emoji, like so they move like these snails, but the way they work is like you can like drag them around. Like maybe there's emojis in the level that you manipulate. Maybe there's cards you flip over or things you move around or stuff to tap. Like I want to have emojis that are interactable so that I can make like all these crazy games way beyond just the limits of bubble shooters. So to do that, I need players to be able to tap on these emojis and not be afraid that they're gonna like accidentally fire a bubble or something like that. So by highlighting a distinct place where players at least initiate their shot, I'm allowed to do whatever I want for these emojis. I want them to be like. There's no reason why they shouldn't be interactive. Just because they've never been interactive in the past, I think that really expands the game design space. I have all these crazy ideas for like different stuff you can do. Like maybe I can even like put like some kind of thing in the game where you can like make your own like little video game within it, and you can kind of like have these alternate controls. Like imagine having like controllers. Like you can put buttons in the game that serve as the jump button, and you can have like a little like Mario kind of clone like playing in the level somehow. Like I know that's hard to imagine from where the game is now, but that's what I'm like thinking about in the future. And so if I want to get there eventually, I need to start like I need to start now because I need to have like obstacles that are like a little more simpler than what I'm talking about, but are still interactive, and so introduce the idea that because if I just did it all at once, all of a sudden players wouldn't be able to get used to the fact that you have to interact with obstacles in the level. So I need to kind of like do the breadcrumbs, do like the early work, and getting players trained and used to the idea that you can interact with stuff in the game, kind of. So I hope that answers that question. It's something that a lot of people like disagree with me on, so it totally makes sense if people have other opinions about. But for now, at least, I just think that I have so many crazy ideas for what you can be able to do with the emojis in the levels. So I don't want to like do anything that limits my possibility space right now. If I decide to cut back on certain things, like that stuff is out of scope for me or whatever, then maybe I could change the controller scheme. But it allows me to have all these design possibilities by allowing players to be able to interact with stuff on the board, while also serving as a constant tutorial for players. Because I'm thinking about casual players who aren't very good at games and forget controllers and forget the controls of the game and might go weeks without playing. By having this gray box, I'm imagining my grandparents. Like if I didn't have this gray box, they would never be able to remember how to play. So for the casual gamers that I'm eventually going to want to target on the app stores with like maybe lighter versions of the games, like I want to make sure that like anyone who wants to play Emoji Pop, that they are able to, and by having this constant tutorial essentially in the game, like that's kind of my way of like making sure that I have some kind of visual like indicator of how to play. So that's kind of like my complicated answer to that question. That's an awesome question. I'd love to go on a rant about that. I'm curious what you think. It totally makes sense if you disagree. Like I think a lot of people disagree, but that's an awesome question. That's a really good question. Yeah, so I feel like there's lots of things about my game that are just different, like the way it's structured, the way the controls are, uh, like certain things that I leave out that all other mobile shooters have, like my embrace of skill, my embrace of level design, like there's like my embrace of community, like there's all these little weird things that like I just believe in my gut that I'm doing it right, even though it's all different, at least right for me. Um, but it makes for interesting conversation. It can be frustrating at times when like if I post something and everyone's like, "You don't have this, you don't have this, you didn't do this." It's like, okay, I have reasons as to why I didn't design the game like every other game that is on the App Store, you know. Like, but it's good to have like these conversations like in these streams so I can like explain like what I'm thinking because I know a lot of people think I'm probably doing it wrong, and I wish I could. I'm glad to have like the opportunity to like dispel kind of maybe some of that, or at least have that conversation. Glad you thought it out. I don't disagree with you. I don't like the way it looks though. A gray box is ugly to look at. That's a really good feedback. Actually, I haven't like thought about the way it looks in a really long time. So yeah, I could make it look better. Like, this is the way it looks like once it's highlighted. But yeah, gray box. It could. It feels like I could have something that's more like in line with the emojis, like the fun, bright fun of the emojis. Like it makes sense. I need some kind of UI design in that. Like it could be like I don't know, like a even just making like a light blue might help or something like that. Yeah, it's something to think about. I'm curious what people also think about the just art of the emojis themselves. Like, I got a lot of feedback that said they don't like the art. Um, so one thing is that these art is like really low res. Make it maybe a slightly transparent cloud or something. I like that. Like something like a cloud would maybe make it like more natural or something. Like less like a box, a gray box. I think that's my programmer mindset a little bit. Yeah, that's good feedback. Yeah, so the game went out like the art's really low res because I just wanted to make the game really. I realized that they were too big and it was like slowing down some parts of the game, so I made them all smaller and it kind of I didn't want to like I was too lazy to like make them all like twice as big basically, so I need to do that. I need to like increase the size of them so it's a little less pixely, but this is basically how it looks, you know. So a lot of people say they don't like the art, that's too simple or something and not juicy enough. And I can see like certain things need more juice or whatever, but I think it's okay. I'm using real world emojis from the Twitter emoji set, so that's kind of why I went with this art. It's all open source, and I've kind of added animations, even though like the heart eye animation, obviously, like that's probably the most like the least like polished or good looking. But I think it's cool having them be real world emojis for some reason. But I'm imagining an art style that could be really cool with the emoji faces. That's like really hard to achieve. That would take me like a lot of resources for artists and stuff. And like, I don't know. I'm wondering also if like the simplicity of these emojis maybe like a game like Dots is like a minimal game, and that's like my game's not like a minimalist game, but like Dots took this route of like a certain aesthetic that's more simple and less flashy. And I think that I could achieve the same with these emojis. Maybe I could juice them up in their own way. But I think it. I don't know. I think it's cool that they're real world emojis and that they have like a traditional. I don't know. They look like traditional. Like I don't know. I could see them being like animated and cartoony and stuff like that. But I wonder if that would just make the game look like it's like I want this game to be made. I want this. I'm making this game for everybody, and so I think the art is important to let the audience know who's this game for. So most games like Panda Pop and Bubble Witch, their art style conveys we're for casual gamers. I want to just be like I'm a traditional game. Like I'm like all everybody can play this game. Like I'm not targeting towards kids, not targeting towards like older people. I'm like targeting towards like just this is just everyone. So by using real world emojis, I think that's like one way of achieving that. Batman says would be cool if it felt like you were playing an iMessage. Yeah, so like that's a really good idea. That was kind of why I designed the UI the way it was on the bottom and stuff. Like the way that everything kind of like the screens kind of go down and go up. I thought that was like minimizing apps and opening them. I like the idea like specifically of iMessage. I think that's cool. I'm an Android guy, but iMessage is fantastic. Yeah, yeah, and that would be a cool aesthetic. That's a really good point. It'd be cool if I could have like little notifications that look like text messages. um, I also had this idea like I was thinking like I always think of every possibility. So one thing I was thinking like most games have some kind of narrative thing or some intro cutscene. I was thinking like what if like the game is like your like a phone and like all the emojis got out from your phone and so you have to like get your emojis back into your keyboard by playing it. You know, like if there was some way to kind of like frame that narrative or whatever you want to call that within the game, I thought that would be cool. Like that kind of goes in line with what you said about it looking like an iMessage app or whatever. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, but that's definitely like I'm definitely trying to embrace like I was just trying to do everything with like a phone aesthetic. So this pop up is like a phone emoji, but instead of it being like white or whatever in the middle, I've replaced it with the UI. But maybe I thought about phone in too strict of terms. Maybe like these pop ups should be like iOS pop ups, you know, or something like that. Like somehow looking like that. I could do a really cool aesthetic with that. Yeah, so maybe I should do some kind of like UI overhaul freaking thing. Yeah, this is a lot to think about. I think I might pause the stream in a moment. What time is it? It's 1:30. I'm gonna pause the stream while I just get lunch, and then 5 minutes I'll be right back, and we'll get started. Like getting into the code of something. Like maybe I should. I don't know. I could either start prototyping different art styles, or I could re kind of. I might maybe do some bug fixes in the code just to like re-engage myself with the code base, so I can get more comfortable with everything. But it would be maybe I should spend some time doing this like UI kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll think about it. I'll be right back. I'm gonna leave the stream running. I'll be back in like 5 minutes. Thank you so much for pointing out that I don't have my audio on. uh, as I said, I'm totally new to streaming. Thank you so much, Ozone, for checking back in. Thank you. You're a lifesaver. I almost did like an hour of not talking. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so that was like a warm up. It's kind of. Remember that scene in The Office where Pam calls Michael and says that he has a phone call for him, and then he says hi in some wacky way, and that's like a warm up. She always gives him a warm up hello before he says the actual hello, because his first hello is always really bad. So that if you haven't watched The Office, then you understand that what I'm trying to say. And so right, and now I'm gonna I'm gonna say what I was trying to say before. So yeah, I was talking about the good reference. Okay, thank you. It gives me a little bit of confidence with the references then. Uh, so before we took a break for lunch, we were talking about the UI, and so Paul on Facebook said it looks cluttered, which I totally agree. And he was especially referring to, this is the home screen. Let me reload it. But these icons right here, like there's all these icons that are overloading it. It just like kind of cluttered. There's all these buttons and everything. And I was looking at, I don't think I have it open anymore, but we're looking at like the Toon Blast UI and some UI of other games. Yeah, so this is the Toon Blast home screen, and like, so I was saying why I want the game to be like start with the level that you're in. So that's, let me put up the game again. So the reason why, usually this is a puzzle, the reason why you start in the game as opposed to having a home screen like this is that the game, the way it's structured, is that it's a live experience. It's not like most mobile puzzle games. You don't go level to level to level. You're just constantly in a giant level, basically. And so that's why I wanted it I wanted to reduce the barriers between you and the gameplay, because it was so essential. It is the progression. Normally you would have the like home, like the map. Like Toon Blast doesn't have a map, but normally you would start with like the map or whatever indicator of progression. And so for me, it is the gameplay. So I believe it should start in the gameplay. And that's why I've designed the UI the way it is. So these are events that are within it. Like there's like a side map and a mini level you can play, and this is like the Toon Blast has like a chest that gives you rewards every so number of wins. And this is what that is. But instead of having all these, so that's why I've designed it with all these things around, you know. But you're right that it is cluttered, and so I've realized that Mattman's suggestion is correct, that I need to have home screen. And so I was looking at like the Legend of Soul Guard home screen. That's what is on the far right here. Wish I could. Let me open it. All right. I guess it's the same size. So the way Soulguard does their home screen is like what it is on the far right, and so they have their main campaign. They have like a map. They have a Sega map game where you go level to level to level, but whereas like most games like Panda Pop or whatever, or Bubble Witch, they would start within the map. This Legend of Soul Guard game has the map within a campaign tab, and they have a home screen, so that what I think this does is it's putting emphasis on the other modes of the game in equality with the main gameplay. So we have the main campaign where the map will be, where we're progressing most of the time. We also have these events, we have community features, and so Emoji Pop, I have such an emphasis on level creation and community, and I want to have an emphasis on community features. So I think it makes sense for me to adopt this approach, and I can still start players in the campaign like I have it here. So when you load the game, this will be a puzzle above you that you're playing, whatever you left off at. So I can still start there, but I can still have a home screen that there will be one button that you can hit to escape, and you go back into this home screen. And so this is a big change. And so another thing this will allow me to do is I can get rid of this bottom taskbar too. And so this is something that was even impeding gameplay. It's making the screen too short on some screens because phones, there's not as much room as computers, and especially some phones, there's so little room that it kind of makes the levels impossible to beat some of them, because if you can only see 3 rows ahead, it kind of breaks some of the game design. So I can have a little more room for the gameplay. I can get rid of this bottom row, get rid of all these side buttons. It'll just be focused on the gameplay, and you'll shoot back out to the home screen. So I'm still just thinking through the consequences of this decision as I'm talking about it. But that's, I think, what I'm going to be working on now this afternoon. So I'm going to be working on this the next few hours. Feel free to give me any feedback or comment on anything. Ask me any questions about the game. As a game designer, I think it's the most important job of a game designer. Just take feedback just take feedback, even if it's something you disagree with. It's going to inform your decision. And so I'm open to I really don't care what anyone has to say. I can only learn from it, so I'm always grateful when someone gives me feedback. And it's kind of fun, because I was not gonna do this UI stuff. This is not gonna be a change that I made to the game. I probably would have gone forth the game with the way it is, forever, basically. So that's why I'm so grateful to be doing these streams, is because I'm already inviting users into the development of the game, in the sense that they're making levels that will get featured in the game. And so that's already me bringing users and players into the experience. But with these level design and with these game development streams that I'm going to be doing henceforth, every day, or Monday through, I think Tuesday through Friday is what I'm going to do. By doing these streams, I can bring users into the development of the. So this Mattman PS2, I've never met you before, but you're gonna have a major impact on this game, and I think every person who watches this is gonna have an impact on this game, and I want to make it as big as possible. I just want it to be the most elegant bubble shooter community puzzle game, and maybe a lot of people, that's not a game they're interested in playing, but this is totally up my speed. It's the quickest access towards. I want to be the quickest way to make the craziest thing you can imagine, because I like creative games where you make stuff, kind of like simulation games. The Sims is a little like that, but more games like Dreams on the PlayStation, and games like creative, the Fortnite creative mode, or Little Big Planet, all that stuff. Mario Maker I love. I might even stream those games sometimes too on here. I just got a capture card that I'm waiting for, but I guess they're kind of out of stock for a while. But yeah, so I think what I'm trying to say is, Mattman, you the audience is going to have an impact on the game's development. I want this to be so most mobile puzzle games. I'm trying to combat games like Candy Crush, where they're more manipulative, you could argue, and some people argue they're evil in all these ways, and addictive or whatever. I want to combat that with gameplay games that are not as manipulative. So Emoji Pop I've designed not to be level by level in a way that I think makes them less manipulative, and these mobile puzzle games on the app stores often are also criticized because they sometimes suck players a lot of money away from players, hundreds of dollars. I know people that have spent hundreds of dollars outside of my family, just some people that I know, and it does so without giving them anything that really improves their lives or anything. And so I'm making sure I combat that with the way I structure the game to make it not as manipulative, and the way I make money not to be addictive or manipulative as well. Also, I'm trying to give players, by doing these streams and videos and allowing them to design levels and share them, I'm trying to benefit them in all these ways, revolving around the skill of being able to design levels in games. And I used to do that in the industry. Make levels all day. You can totally make a lot of money doing that. People would be surprised. And so another way of combating that is I want to be community focused. I think the big distinction is these corporate mobile game developers, they have an antagonistic relationship with their audience, even though many of them don't know it really. They treat them solely as piggy banks to maximize profits, which that's fine. That's business, but they're doing it in a way, and in some ways that I'm not even going to talk about on the stream, that I think some of these developers could be lying to their players about the way their games work. Even I don't know how deep it goes, but I think we need to be combating that with healthy, community-oriented games, And I think one way of doing that is by putting the game's design in the hands of the community themselves. So like by their feedback, obviously they're going to be impacting the design, but like I'm like so open to feedback, as I hope you can see. I'm sure you'll see in the future at least. And by like allowing them to design levels and like become like a part of the community that like I don't know, I want to build like a whole community of people who design levels hopefully, and can like train each other and give each other feedback. You know, I think because those are the things that are the true education for game design. If you're interested in becoming a game designer, I would say that like school, you're not going to get everything you need in school. Like you need to like make games, and with Emoji Pop you can make games without coding or anything, so it makes like an amazing introduction for like all age groups, I think. Okay, that was a major tangent, but so now we're gonna get back to doing what we were talking about, which is redesigning the UI. So I want to have a home screen like Soul Guard, and feel free to interrupt me with whatever you want. Chat wise, I got all the chats open. Is it bad manners to chew gum on a stream? So yeah, I really like this home screen idea and having the campaign within it. I can still start players in the campaign, and it could escalate out back into the home screen. So I just need to like, now I need to like, I basically need to just start creating what I need in the code. So I need to create these buttons that represent items in the home screen. I might not make them all the full length. Like I could see myself having like oh, campaign here, and then next to it level editor, and then maybe some smaller ones below like events and stuff like that. I don't think it's gonna be something that scrolls. I'd imagine that I'm just gonna scale it to fit in the box on one screen. And again, I'm gonna have to change a lot of stuff because I have to get rid of the bottom UI layer. Where's the game? It's this bottom UI layer where it has these 5 buttons below. I got a lot of feedback that players I know didn't like that, even though it tried to resemble a Toon Blast. Maybe they're just commenting on the art, but I'm gonna get rid of that because you don't need to be constantly navigating. And I think this makes sense. I think the only reason why I'm like dragging my feet a little bit is just I want to make sure like I think about it enough to be confident enough, because this is a big change. Like taking out the bottom UI layer, like that's referenced all over the place, you know, so I'm gonna have to like dig into the code a lot to do that, and I haven't really coded in a few weeks. I've taken a break, so even though I've programmed this for a long time, you'd think, I don't know, I just need to like, I don't know, anytime you kind of back away from something you're doing every day, you feel a little rusty, you know. But it'll be fun to do that on the stream. Maybe that'll add to the frustration. Should probably play some music on my end at least. I love to code to music, kinda. Listening to Run the Jewels right now. Alright, so we're gonna have to make some new files in our code. So these are the files up here that I have open. These are just the main files. I have the main container, and this is the main screen for the game. So right now the way UI works is, let me open the game real fast. So the main container layer is this whole thing. It controls, has all these different UI tabs. So it has the main gameplay tab, which is in the middle. It has this task tab, which has tasks that by making matches and winning levels, you kind of achieve these tasks, which give you experience, which give you gifts. This is a little bit underdeveloped at the moment. This is also where you can like customize your emoji and buy new things to customize your emoji. And this is also where I'm going to be hosting like these videos and podcasts that I'm making and going to be making more of in the future. I want them all to be featured in this screen, so you can while you're editing levels, you can like listen to me talk about game design, or like give you some challenge or something and talk about how to go about it, designing a level. So you can have it open in the bottom corner and move it around while you're designing levels or playing the game. I know like maybe this isn't interesting to most people, but I just believe in like, I think the game for me, Emoji Pop, is not just about the game. You know, I don't know. I have a weird perspective on this, but I think it's like everything I'm doing, including the videos, the streams, the community stuff that's feeding into the game. I think every aspect of it together makes the game, and so I want to integrate them as much as possible. Um, I think that would just be kind of cool, and it could make it like a better educational experience for like. I do this. I used to run programs before the pandemic for youth programs. Let me make sure I have the chat open. Yeah. I used to run like these youth programs for schools where I teach them game design basically, and I use this game Emoji Pop, and so it'd be cool to like have that experience, like educational experience. Like someone could do that, and I wouldn't even need to be there. They could just give them the game and show them the videos that you can open up, and they can kind of make levels and play test them with each other. And I think that would be there's a lot of cool potential there. Another tab in the UI. So there's 5 tabs. I did gameplay, tasks. There's the editor over here, which I've shown you a lot before, and then the level browser, which is where we have all of our levels. So it's kind of weird that this is equating all these side tabs. Like the level, like the thing that holds your levels, like the folder, is basically equivalent to like the level editor and the world gameplay. Like, so the hierarchy here, I don't know, just it doesn't seem right. So that already is reinforcing my decision, inspired by Mattman's opinion, to get rid of this kind of UI and make it like make a home screen for it. Because like, yeah, the UI at the bottom doesn't really make sense. Like another thing I have is the community tab, which is where I show trending levels and streamers that are maybe live streaming the game. So like I would love to like feature this on the home screen. You know, you don't have to like open a tab to get to here. Like it'd be cool to just like feature these boxes like as much as I can, at least like in the home screen itself, you know? I think that'd be cool. I'm trying to think about where to put the home button. So these will be gone. The bottom row will be gone. This right here is your next bubble, or you can swap it. And this is shows the streak that you're on. So this over here is full. You could put like a home button right here on the side. I feel like there's something that goes here. I'm trying to remember. There's something in the game that I put here. Did I move it? Maybe it was just the slot machine. I think this might be free. Oh, boosters go here. I could put it above the boosters. Okay. Just making sure I have enough room and everything. So I'm just gonna get into this. This is frightening. I need to take off the sunglasses and switch to my engineering. No longer game designer. So we're gonna have to create some new files. I need to keep this open at the same time. So I'm making this game in Cocos. There's an engine called Cocos, and I'm using specifically Cocos 2D JS, which is completely JavaScript. It allows you to completely code the game in JavaScript, which I like, even though I know that makes me not a very good programmer because everyone hates JavaScript. Let me make myself a little smaller here. Okay. So this is what it looks like when you open the game if you haven't logged in yet, and I'm going to hit later. I'm going to revisit this UI later, like the pop-ups. Like I think, yeah, Mattman had the suggestion of like making it like a messenger app, you know, and I was just going phone, but I was originally thinking like a messenger. I don't think I was thinking messenger. I think I was thinking like home screen of the app store. But like I like the idea of like making it like a messenger, because I also like the idea of like the emojis make more sense within the context of messenger, not just phones themselves. So I like that. I would like the idea of like having like the pop-up be like an iOS pop-up, or I don't know, I don't know. Need to think about that. So I'm gonna leave this open. Hello, the True Elect. What's up? I'm doing a game dev stream right now. I'm just got some feedback from the chat about the UI for my game. Are you a seasoned game dev? Honestly, I wouldn't really say so. I've worked as a game designer in the industry, but every time I worked as a game designer, I end up coding, and I end up in a coding position. It stinks because like there's just so much to like. I end up like there's so many games to be made as a designer who can code. I really recommend like if you're a game designer out there, like it's so awesome to be able to code because you can do stuff that's like insane. There's so many uses for game design. Are you a game developer, Trulect, or what's your relationship to game? Are you an indie or something? I think I'm an indie. I'm an aspiring. Cool. So just to let you know, Emoji Pop is a game. You can play it at playemojipop.com.